Boris here from Switch to Survive. It's time to thrive because today we're going to be discussing the can of worms which was opened up on March 8th for the Nintendo Direct. Super Smash Bros. Will be released sometime in 2018 and we already had Splatoon Inklings as new characters, though we also know that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Link is added to the game, combined with that new title logo, making it appear that it's an entirely new game of the series. Super Smash Bros. Has been used as a marketing game in the past. Fire Emblem was introduced in Super Smash Bros. Melee, and Pit received a second life in Super Smash Bros. 3DS and Wii U. Nintendo stated that the company will be revisiting all their IPs to see what they can add to the Switch's 5 to 7 year life cycle that they're aiming for. It's time to look at the top 5 Nintendo-owned characters to add for marketing, then dive into the top 5 indie characters that should be added, since indies are what helped make the Switch what it is today, while lastly looking at the top 5 characters that I find will most likely appear. Looking at the IPs Nintendo owns shows that almost all their franchises has at least one character in there already. The first character that comes into mind, the most recent, is Chibi Robo, since he's been lit on fire for the Direct before, as a meme. Though Bandai Namco also owns the character, and if there's going to be any royalties that are going to be divvied up with Bandai, the character to be brought over would most likely be, well... So on to looking at other series which first came to mind actually for me, and that was Golden Sun. Golden Sun was a game that started off in 2001 for the Game Boy Advance, and then 2 years later came out with a sequel also on the Game Boy Advance. When the third game came out on the DS in 2010, which was 7 years later, I didn't even hear of it until almost a year later when I entered a store surprised like, oh, Golden Sun is here again. So yeah, that's a thing, because Nintendo's IP had a worse advertising team than the Wii U. 9 out of 10 people never heard of Golden Sun series, which I asked them about, and that said, the most popular character of that series is Isaac, whom was already featured as an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, as well as different soundtracks being added for the most recent Super Smash Bros. Games. Isaac will be given spot 1 for the Golden Sun Revival, coming to a Switch near you. Box Boy is also created by a Hall Laboratory like Smash is, and we already have a Mr. Game & Watch that looks like a basic looking character. Kirby and Jigglypuff are basically spheres too, so why not add a box? Bye Bye Box Boy was the last title from the 3DS because, Box Boy Switch is only a matter of time, making him number 2 on my list. Snipper Clips has basic shapes as well, but I can't think of enough moves to go hand in hand with the game, especially since character mechanics carry over, and you would have to go and cut the character in order for them to attack, and it doesn't seem like there'd be enough time in order to have that character not be moving like a slow molasses. The Lumas might have to make way for another star to be ported from overseas. Starfy is a series which hasn't had much popularity outside of Japan. This star uses costumes to gain different powers by touching an enemy's thought bubble, and is a platformer which has many looking at this character as another Kirby, or maybe even a living, breathing
Warp Star!
Warp Star!
Though before Super Smash Bros. Melee, Fire Emblem was in the same shoes as Starfy. If Starfy plans to swim all the way across the ocean finally, this character will be given spot 3 on the list. Mallo from Pushmo is a likely 4th candidate which will represent an entirely new genre for the Super Smash Bros. Roster, puzzle games. Pushmo started on the 3DS in 2011 and had a trophy of Mallo in Super Smash Bros. 3DS as well as being in Mario Maker, so inch by inch he is making his way towards a new Switch game. Spot 5 might be a challenge since Advance Wars is one of the last 3 series to fit this category. Having a tank would be fun and all, and it was even an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, yet another game that hasn't been overseas which has also an assist trophy in the game too is Saki Amamiya. He is from a series that's called Sin and Punishment, which reminds me a bit of a Metroid style game. Since Metroid 4 is coming out on the Switch this year or maybe even next year and is getting a lot of hype, perhaps he will be challenging the bounty hunter herself down the line for some popularity. though there is one other game that is most likely going to represent this last spot. Ribbon Girl and Springman from the new IP ARMS will most likely take the win for the spot in the roster. The game doesn't appear to be selling as well as they hoped, as they are making another test server for the game. I tried the first test run, and when they didn't have the abilities to readjust the controls, it was horrendous in my opinion for using a pro controller. Making a new test run appears to be the most beneficial if they've worked out all the issues from previously. So moving on to the indie games might appear to be a grab bag, since over 85% of the games on the Switch are indie or Neo Geo whatevers. Though I'm going to look at the sales aspect of which indie games actually sold the Switch or has any Nintendo ties currently. The first one, which will be the most obvious since there's already an amiibo of the character, is Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight is a character that put in work not only at the start of the Nintendo Switch's lifetime, but also in the Wii U. While they are currently at spot 35 for the most downloaded from their Treasure Trove game, it appears that they have not only put in the most work to mutually benefit with Nintendo, but also Shovel Knight is one of the most known characters in the indie field. Looking at the top 10 all-time download charts, Rocket League is ranked 8. And have gotten Sony and Microsoft fans to buy Nintendo Switches to play the game on the go. Some of these people who have played Rocket League with only has on the Switch Rocket League itself, though there are other people that have played Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and other of the more popular games that might have not played it if Rocket League was not on it. Honoring the indie game, which affects the most sales, Rocket League would most likely have the Octane or some other of the popular race cars that are used as options to be played in Super Smash Bros. If you think there isn't enough moves for it though, there is a Rocket League item mode which allows that a boot is attached to a spring as well as many other items. I feel Rocket League earned the spot 2 on this list. Stardew Valley is ranked 4 on the charts, only beat by 2 free apps and Super Mario Bros. Versus. Having another farmer may play similarly to the villager, but I could see some skills being different from the items that the character could use in the game. Being the most sold indie game on the eShop deserves a spot 3 on this list. Minecraft is ranked 7, while Dragon Quest Builders is taking 29th place, even though it is ranked 4th in the Japan shop. Both of these characters are builders, which can make an interesting character for tactical battling mayhem. It won't be a Fortnite, but the building can be strategically placed while disappearing after 5 or so seconds to give builders the power to challenge the competition. Neither of these characters have high jump compatibility, so they're going to need to rely on their blocks in order to come back on stage. I was looking for the last one for popularity. Celeste looks to be the best choice, but the character can only jump, it appears, and the dodging, speed, mobility, and all that such will just make this a keep-away troll character. So I went the opposite route and went all the way down on the list to see if I could find something that is most popular in Japan, which is very low on the American eShop. Which I did find one of them, which was the top 15 on the charts for actually about a month in Japan. To Kabuto 5 Burst Battle features a guardian named Rimu, who appears to be very lazy. There are tons of what they call bullet hell games across the internet, since the creator of the series practically said, just give me credit if you use my idea, now go make money. With such popularity in Japan and a very generous business model, I shall have Rimu claim spot 5, and you don't even have to pay the royalty fees for this. Now on to the top 5 characters which will most likely be seen in the Super Smash Bros. Game. Covered quickly. Spot 1 and 2 goes to the Ice Climbers and the Pokemon Trainers, since they both were supposed to be in the last Super Smash Bros., but couldn't work with the 3DS system. Without the 3DS constraint, these two characters are all but 95% confirmed to make an appearance. And I'll eat those words if that doesn't come true. Next up is King K. Rool, which will take spot 3. Nintendo took note of the popularity last Smash Bros. To make a Mii costume of this character. The King has definitely been thought about while making this game. Spot 4 and 5, though, should be given to veterans. The two most likely to return, if any of them are returning, are Wolf and Kid Link. If they add Kid Link, I personally rather see him use masks like Hyrule Warriors does to him. Psst, Ganondorf should dual-wield swords as well. Adding Wolf or even Crystal might possibly help save the Star Fox franchise, especially if Nintendo does not mess up the next one with the controls again like they did in the Wii U version. Did I leave out someone you want? Feel free to comment that character below. Thanks for watching, Darius signing out.